Hello there folks, I'm Dan Brown from asortofinterestinlife.com, and today we're going to talk about a topic that I never ever speak about, and that is narrowboat security. Now there's a reason I never speak about this, and that is basically because I am incredibly superstitious, so touch wood that I am not tempting fate here. But as some of you may already know, I did speak about this a little bit in my latest book, A Narrowboat and a Notebook, shameless plug. And so I thought, you know what, I've started it, so in for a penny, in for a pound, let's do a proper video. Now I'll point out at this stage that, as I always say with boats and the canal, things vary wildly from boat to boat and owner to owner and how they approach things. So there's absolutely no standard thing, once again, that this is how every narrowboat is going to be. And also, I'm not going to go into too much detail because, obviously, that would be giving all of the secrets away. But there are a few little handy hints I've learned along the way. So, let's dive straight in. The first thing that a lot of people observe when they're walking down the towpath, and I get a few messages when people have been out, and if they don't live by a canal, when they go to like a local stretch of canal or go away and see the canal, they often will say, oh, I was down at so-and-so stretch of canal, and it looked like all the boats were empty down there. Where is everybody? And basically, in typical fashion, as I record this video, this isn't the case, but normally I have the towpath side curtains closed, because that's obviously a nice little bit of privacy that you can give yourself, and that's the same with a lot of other people who have boats. They tend to keep the towpath side closed and have the canal side open. But as dusk is currently falling, it's getting darker and darker. You can see I've got the lights on everywhere. I wanted the light in from both sides for this video. So that explains really why boats look empty a lot of the time, and it's something that I find quite interesting. Over the winter months, I pay for a winter mooring spot, and so that means I can stay in one area for a prolonged period, and I've mastered the art, and this is basically what my main security thing is to try and create the illusion that if I'm on the boat or I'm not on the boat, it's the same, there's no difference. And basically, things like having the towpath side curtains closed so nobody can look in and go, oh look, there's Dan, what's he up to? Or, oh look, there's nobody on that boat. The second thing that I always do is try and keep the boat looking in as uniform a setup as possible. And what I mean by that is the things such as coiling the ropes. Now that's something that people who watch my videos have pointed out repeatedly. What is the deal with me coiling the ropes all the time? Is it OCD, etc.? And basically, it started off just making it look pretty, but what I do now is basically whenever I move the boat, if they get disturbed, if I'm taking the kayak off the roof, etc., I always basically put the ropes back into as identical a position as I possibly can, coiled up at various points on the roof, and the back rope goes around a certain way on the stern, and that's my next sort of thing of, I know that nobody's going to come along and go, oh, look at this, these ropes have been moved, somebody's about, or these ropes haven't been moved, there's nobody about, because the ropes will never ever move, in theory. So it's little things like that. And also, if I'm not on the boat, for example, over some of the summer months where, well, for example, I've recently been away to my nan and granddad's caravan, I've been to Alton Towers and been camping, and obviously while I'm away from the boat, keeping everything in the uniform condition means, once again, there's no dead giveaway. But there's also things that I personally won't do, and other boaters have spoke about me on this subject, and asking me about people and general crime on the canal. And basically, there's things such as putting a little cover over the chimney where it sticks out of the roof. Something like that. You'll see people will put pots on, or little silver dishes to cover up the thing to keep the rain out. And that obviously, to me, looks very much like a clear sign there's nobody around on that boat. And similarly, obviously that's not always the case, because boats have central heating. I mean, even Tilly has got a little radiator here. And so that obviously, once again, like I say, that's not a uniform thing. But it's definitely something that I would keep well away from doing personally. And equally, when I first got Tilly, she hasn't got a traditional stern with the inside doors and then outer doors, because the outer doors tend to have a little padlock on them, and Tilly on her main back door just had a latch with a padlock. And I thought instantly, if people can walk past and say, oh look, there's a padlock on that door, that means nobody can be inside, or they'd be locked in, so you'd hope nobody would be inside. So that was something that I instantly got removed and taken out, and put in a nice little Yale lock. So it's obviously just like a normal front door of a house, that sort of thing. And that, again, it's just a nice simple thing, and it keeps that. There's no clear demonstration of is there anybody on board or not on board. And there's other things that people do, and I do as well, which we will leave for the time being. When I'm on my long-term winter moorings that I pay for over sort of November to March, if I'm feeling lazy and want the full 5 months, then that obviously it becomes more of I sort of mingle slightly with the local community, and the people in the local area start to know me. It's fantastic, and I've learned an awful lot about the local canal around the Chirk St Martin's area from speaking to all the people who've lived here all their lives. And anyway, I'm getting well off topic here, so back on topic. Over the longer periods, obviously I have my bike, which is normally locked up on the stern, but it sort of started the winter before last. I started to fetch my bike in over the nights if I was going to go out on an early morning trip to go to work in town. Obviously, by keeping it in over the winter before I go out first thing, like before 7 o'clock, be on my bike off on the road, that meant that it kept it from having all the ice and everything freezing over before I had to go out in the morning and towel it all down. So that also led me to realise that obviously by having that inside, it makes it clear that my bike isn't an indication whether I am on board or not. And as I have friends who live all over the canal, luckily, I normally will take my bike up to my friend's house and leave it there. Well, it's literally at Western Rin, about 15 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes from me latest winter mooring area. And obviously that's no distance at all to walk up and down and get me bike if I so wished. So obviously that again means I can be on board, be clearly on board, lights on and smoking chimney over the winter, but not have my bike on board. So that's again another thing that I do fetch it inside sometimes when I'm on board, just for general security and the illusion, because I can at night keep it up at the front out of the way, and in the daytime keep it out of the back out of the way. And there's all of these little tiny things that you sort of pick up as you go along. It's something that I often say about things that you learn on the canal. There's a lot that I could say, but you still wouldn't grasp it, and it's something that doesn't really settle in until you live it and realise for yourself what specifically for you personally is the best circumstance. Now, there's one thing that I personally have that works greatly to my advantage, that I basically don't own anything of value. This is my storage cupboard. I've got clothes in that cupboard and food, and also obviously cutlery and plates and stuff in the kitchen. But what you can see in here are basically the non-movable items, and all we've got really are, well, as you would expect from me, a lot of books about ancient history. And the only expensive item I have on board is this battery pack. That was only about £100, and obviously because it's a battery pack and degrades with time, its resale value is practically nothing as well. And the only other things that I own are my phone and the iPad. They're not the only other things that I own, of course, but that basically means that because I use the iPad for my filming, the only valuable items I really have, I always have with me. So that instantly means that I am not having anything on board that's really worth stealing. When I'm out generally cruising on the canal, I like to moor up, not necessarily right on top of other boats, but basically just within line of sight and not too far away. And the reason, obviously, that I want to be by other boats is for the security of strength in numbers, I suppose, where you know that you've got other people who will be in a, hopefully, a like-minded way, trusting you to be able to keep an eye on their boat if they're away. And I think certainly if you get to know a few people who are travelling on the canals, where you start to know, right, that's a good boat, I trust them implicitly, I will happily moor up just down from them and know that we're all friends and all capable of looking out for each other. And the reason, though, that I don't like to moor up right on top of other boats is because I myself am one for disappearing and reappearing at all hours of the day and night. And for a similar reason of not wanting to cause a disturbance, I am a big fan of astronomy as well. So late at night, the last thing I want to do is let somebody else wake up on a boat to hear rustling going on outside and down the side of the boat when I'm out with my telescope, because that could be alarming in itself. So that obviously is its own general thing for me personally and how I live on a boat and how I generally live my life. Just that little bit of distance gives us all a bit of privacy and makes sure that we don't step on each other's toes, basically. I can tell you as well for a fact that I know this system works because I have myself had moments where I've got back onto the boat and it's been the middle of the night, and the next morning people on the nearest boat, like 100 foot or so down, as I've been walking past, gone, "Oh, I thought it was you. I was looking out and I could see all sorts of lights flashing around on the back of your boat, but yeah, I realised it was you in the end though." And they've obviously clocked somebody going past at an unusual hour and then seen them milling around my boat, obviously then realising it is actually me. But it's very reassuring to know that you've got that sort of community going on, and that's why it's very handy to hang around other boats. So that's definitely something as well that works in my favour, that there's this thing of you never know when I'm going to turn up. Like I say, I could be off out first thing in the morning and back still first thing in the morning, or sometimes I will go up to my friend's house and I won't leave until 8 o'clock and be on, goodness knows, like a 10 mile, 12 mile bike ride out sometimes, go to my friend's house, watch a film, that sort of thing, and then by the time I've ridden another 12 miles back to the boat, can easily be looking at after midnight, 1 o'clock, goodness knows what sort of time. So obviously that's the boat may look empty, it may be empty, but am I going to turn up at any given unexpected moment? That's the other thing that works in my favour for people who may, in very unlikely circumstances, be staking out the boat for a long period of time. Anyway, I also, just for random interest's sake, I'll throw this in. As some of you will know, I work in a supermarket in Oswestry, and my mum's house is literally less than a 10-minute walk away from there, so I leave my bike there when I go into work and that sort of thing, and then after work, I mean, for example, I've got a little bit of footage that I may put in right now if I've still got access to it, where, for example, a couple of weeks ago, I biked out to the boat after work, but I'd worked a late night at work, then gone back to my mum's house, sorted a load of internet stuff out and generally responded to a few comments and got some videos sorted, and by the time I was biking out of Oswestry it was literally 2 AM. So at 2 o'clock in the morning I was setting out. It was luckily only about a half an hour bike ride out to where the boat was at that point, but that again means that I was returning to the boat at even what I was considering an unexpected time, at literally 2:30 in the morning. So obviously again there's that thing of the boat is not necessarily empty all night or all day, and these are the things that you generally sort of pick up and hopefully can filter in and work around as part of your general life, and obviously fitting that into, right, if I'm going to be away for this amount of time, I want to make sure that the boat's going to look like this. But once again, these are details I'm not going to go into specifically. Anyway, I've rambled on at you quite long enough. Hopefully I've had some nice little clips that I can put on the screen to show you while I've been talking. And hopefully you will check out my other videos for loads more of Narrowboat life. Some of them are more instructional videos like this, or going through locks on your own. Some of them are amazing scenery out of the windows that a lot of you will be familiar with. And really, I'll say thanks for watching, subscribe for a load more boat life, check out my books, The Narrowboat Lad, Narrowboat and the Notebook, The Narrowboat Lad Living the Dream. Just search, basically, go to narrowboatbooks.com and you'll find the links to all of them. So, moving swiftly on, feel free to like the Facebook page, feel free to add me personally on Facebook and Twitter. An awful lot of you have now, that's fantastic, thank you. And until the next time, keep it safe, keep it secure, have a fantastic day, and farewell.